last class. Today, after discussing few portions, I'll try to take a review on dynamic programming. I'll be do it very first so that I'll share my dynamic programming and greedy algorithm slides to you. Maybe I'll also share the divide and conquer class slides. These three portions we include past, but we'll decide whether we'll go for exam of those portions. But I'll be sharing those things. And today, the whole class will not be continuing with NP complete problem. We'll be switch over to the dynamic programming and we'll have a discussion on that. So again, we'll back and resume the discussion on NP complete problem. Okay, now this typically without looking into the criticality, if we look into a traveling salesman problem and it's just a sequence of cities. That means suppose the salesman starts from the city one, then we have many alternate paths so that it can take a tour and go back to one. The last class what I tried to do, I was trying to relate this problem to the automata. So if you look into that, if you take this 1, 2, 3, 4 as the input alphabet corresponding to a particular grammar, okay. So you have an input alphabet or you call it as a terminal, this 1, 2, 3, 4. And if I am able to synthesize or if I am able to propose a regular expression, then if it is not possible to find out a solution to this problem, but I can verify the solution in polynomial time. That means I can sketch a automata. You give me a sequence like 1, 2, 3, 4 and ask to verify whether this is a tour or not. Let us say 1, 2, 3, 4 and you may again add 1 whether it is a tour or not. So it can be verified in automata. So what we are finding, this particular problem is a combinatorial problem. If you look into the input alphabet or terminal symbols, that is 1, 2, 3, 4. So all permutation and combination is nothing but the all possible solutions. And suppose I'll put a constant that I want a solution that the maximum tour cost will be something, then I'll discard few of the solutions. I'll be taking those solutions whose total cost is less than a certain value. So that is the reason if you do not know to find out which one is the shortest tour or shortest path, but it is possible to verify a solution in polynomial time. What I try to explain, when we say a solution can be verified in polynomial time, this is a simplest type of definition we use, that we may not have an exact algorithm for a problem, but we can verify the solution in polynomial time. It implies that the problem is NP complete. Yes, this is the one of the way you can argue, because when you start with a problem and you are looking for a new algorithm, you represent the problem using appropriate data structure. Let us say traveling salesman is a problem, you try to find out the shortest tour. So after writing the representation, now you need to prove that the problem is to be NP complete. So one type of argument it might be, let us assume that we do not have any algorithm to find out the best solution to this problem, but we can verify the solution in polynomial time. So we'll be looking into that when, as I say, if you look into the brute force solution, you have to list all the possible paths, and that is your n factorial. So a brute force solution requires n factorial solution or path to be examined, which is large in number. But now this is the catch. When we try to reduce the number of trials, then we are taking help of the dynamic programming algorithm, which will be n square into 2 to the power n. Answer is how? And dynamic programming is a paradigm which always produces optimal solution. Greedy produces suboptimal solution. Dynamic programming produces optimal solution. So any problem, if you design a algorithm under dynamic programming, you will have a optimal solution. Then somebody may question, if we have a paradigm which always produces optimal solution, then why we are looking into other programming paradigm like approximation algorithm or randomized algorithm or any nature inspired or heuristic algorithm. Okay, now Why this is upper problem? When you try to find out a solution or optimal solution using complexity order of n square into 2 to the power n, and 2 to the power n is exponential, for n is to be large, again it requires a huge amount of time. So now when n increases, or some quality of service of algorithm demands that this particular work has to be completed before a certain constraint. So this is always a demand that we try to speed up the problem, and sometimes we want a solution to be obtained with as minimum time as possible. So it says there are number of people are trying to find out the solution in a constant time so that a real time system can be designed. So this is a competition, this is a race which is going on and will continue, because almost all real world problems are NP complete problems, and for them we have dynamic programming algorithm, but the solution space or the time complexity is exponential. So that is the reason I'll again go back to discuss the dynamic programming algorithm. As I have discussed, the dynamic programming algorithm has the 4 steps, and those 4 steps, if you will complete the step number 4 gives you the solution. The step number 3 gives you the value of optimal solution. Now let us come into the input size, what we term as a instance. So this is required when we try to express the complexity. We say it is in terms of n, that is the size of the instance or the input size, and the complexity is based on the is expressed in terms of input size. So sometimes this input size is also going to decide the representation in the data structure, and few algorithms use this information to decide the storage space also. Okay, now if we'll look into um, this input size, how it is used to express the complexity of algorithm, this is a very small example for you which we usually discuss when we try to find out the time complexity in terms of asymptotic notation. We go, let us say I have a algorithm which is represented by this function f of n, but from where I will find f of n? This is the behavior of my algorithm where n increases. So the f of n is the value in y-axis, and n is the value increase in the x-axis. So now let us look into a code segment, and from this code segment we try to find out f of n. That means I am going to write down for my algorithm, I can write f of n. You look into this is a C program, and we try to separate the statements which are depend, which is depend or which is to be executed, and which is to be only information which is to be provide certain information to the environment. Okay, so if we look into this title function, this is only provides the information that particular function name is sum. Then we will try to only pick up the executable statements or the statements which is going to task the CPU. Like now, if you look into the declaration statement, it is not contributing anything, but a assignment operator, it contributes to 1. Please note it. This line contributes 1. When you come to this line, this contributes 1, this contributes 1, and this contributes how many times? How many times the increment is to be there? How many
n
time it will be? Huh?
n times.
N times or n plus 1 time?
N plus one
N plus
times.
one time
N
total
plus one
execution.
times.
N plus 1 time, because n time it will enter into the domain of the loop, and in n plus 1 it will be exiting from the for loop. Okay, now if you look into the statement which is within the domain of the for loop, it has to be executed n times. And how many operations are there? This is one operator, this is second operator, third operator, and fourth operator. So total number of times this particular statement will be executed 4n. Okay, then we are performing a return. This is a function call which tasks us something, so this is 1. So if we'll add everything, maybe sometimes people take one more uh, constant efforts, or one many constant operations is to be there. So we are finding a something like this 6n plus 4. Sometimes people write 6n plus 5. Okay, so whatever you are writing, you are finding a linear function. So this is just to illustrate how to find out this f of n. How to find out this f of n. So you substitute the n value and you will calculate the f of n and draw the behavior or draw the particular algorithm. Okay, now you need to find out a big O notation. Big O is a upper bound, but big O is not the least upper bound. So we are finding a function that covers. What about this point? You see the behavior of the function is not clear. At this point, this particular f of n is dominated or covers the function c of gn. But after this point, the gn covers the f of n. So you know how typically we write a big O notation. F of n is covered by f of n is less than c of gn. If such type of bound exists, we can express f of n is the order of gn. So this illustrates how to write a very simple f of n function for the algorithm. You know how to prove this statement is to be big O of n. How to prove it? How you will prove that 6n plus 4 equal to order of n? Yes. Can anyone respond? How to prove that 6n plus 4 is equal to order of n?
So for any value of n, if we put in the expression 6n plus 4, it will be greater than simply n.
No, but
So
how to
6n,
prove it? How to prove it?
We'll take a natural number, multiply it with the n, and if from a
Any of
certain point,
you have followed the Sahani book?
Induction.
No, no induction. It is not in that way complicated. Rajat Pandey, how to prove it?
Yes. When I was thinking mathematical induction, like first
No,
we
no,
prove it for
no, no.
one value.
Don't go for induction. You see, 6n plus 4. Simply write it. 6n 4 plus 4 is less than 7n. Right? 6n plus 4 is less than 7n. So 7 is your constant c and n is a linear function of gn. Now you go on guessing the value for which n this condition holds to be true. Now if you start with n equal to 1, so it will be 6 plus 4, 10. 10 is less than equal to 7. Answer is no. So tell me for which n value this holds. 6n plus 4 is less than equal to 7n.
N should be greater than 4.
N should be greater than 4. Now that is the value is called n0. Okay. Now n should be greater than 4. That 4 value is called n0. This 4 value is called n0. So what you are going to write when you are going to write down a big O notation, you are writing f of n will be covered by c of gn for n greater than equal to n0. Got it? I am going to write f of n is less than equal to c of gn subjected to condition is important, n is greater than equal to n0, so that we can write f of n will be order of gn. Okay, that is the reason I suggest that you should refer to the Sahni book, and there are many examples available in the Sahni book which can be referred for this purpose. Um, because that book you please try to download. It is a bulky book. Maybe I was trying to send it through the I mean with the Netris, but I was not successful. Uh, Maybe I'll try it again so that you can have a look into that. So this is the chapter 1 book of the Sahani. Let me show you. It'll take a little bit of time. I'll show you the snapshot of that particular book. Uh, well, some people are looking for the basic things as few people share their information with me. Sir, it a little bit of difficult as to start with. Yeah. Uh, please have a look. I am sharing my screen again with. Are you finding the book? Yes. Are you finding something on your screen introduction?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
Yes, sir.
this requires serious reading of this chapter 1. Okay. So as it shows the algorithm with a specification and pseudocode notation. So here last class I told you about run to completion, time complexity, space complexity, and that asymptotic notation. So just I am showing you what exactly uh, how this book will be useful. Maybe I'm moving through fast. Please wait. You will be getting a share on the top of your screen. Uh, you see the book. You have to read it very carefully because the writing is shows the maximum number of information. Maybe you can say it. You will be have a difficult on reading because too much information packed into this. Uh, so you look into the space complexity definition. The space complexity of a algorithm is the amount of memory it needs to run to completion. The time complexity is the amount of computer time it is read to run to completion. Okay, so run to completion is a compilation time or execution time. Now we are discussing actually about the complexity, and you will be finding how the big O notation is used when omega notation is used, so theta notation is used. So with a less space, with a very less space, they are explaining a few examples. Maybe I'll take a little bit of time. I'll show you how it is handy. Yeah, now this page is visible. Asymptotic notation big O. Can
Yes,
anybody
Yes, sir.
respond?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Asymptotic.
Yes,
Just
sir.
look
Yes,
into
sir.
look into the example 1.1. Look into the example 1.1. You will be finding how it is trying to prove 3n plus 2 is order of n, and the simple example is that 3n plus 2 is less than equal to 4n. It is the step number 1. You just add 1 to this. The highest degree for n polynomial which is there, you can add 3 plus 1, you will start with the 4n. Similarly, if you look into the second equation, you try to prove that 100 plus n plus 6 is the order of n. So that again you start with 100, n plus 6 is less than equal to 101 of n. Okay, so it will be great if you will read the chapter 1, and this is you say for Vigo notation. What I have explained you, f of n is equal to c of gn. So the guess when you start with this, on this 101 is your c, and your gn is a simple polynomial n. So this covers all these things. Okay, so similarly if you'll go to, you'll be finding similarly for theta, for omega, for omega and theta, if it is a satisfying the big O or upper bound, omega is the lower bound, then we can have a theta as the tight bound. Okay, so I'll again try to send you the book today. Okay, uh, initially I was trying to load this thing to the team, but I was not successful. Maybe I'll just snap these portions and only take a few pages. I'll trim this particular whole book and I'll try to send the first chapter of the book. You go through that. It will be a fruitful discussion if we'll cover this much. Only 3 paragraph, big O, omega and theta. Then I'll explain you with a graphical notation. Okay. So we switch back to the NP again. Uh, yeah. So we switch back to the NP again to uh, continue our discussion on this NP completeness. So when it comes to the NP completeness, we talk about first polynomial time algorithm, which just now I have discussed, and then I have also discussed what is the input size or instance. So you see, this is the line in some encoding. What it tried to say, some encoding. Sometimes we enter into the depth analysis, assuming that n is an integer, as I have discussed in that example, or in some machine it is using 7-bit, some machine is in the 8-bit. When it says you have a host quest running time and which is bounded by a polynomial that is order of n to the power c. Of course, this c is a small number, either 2, 3, 4 like this. If c will be large, definitely it will be coming under the under the trackable problem, but with a super polynomial time complexity. Okay, now you this is the details of the millennium problems. Okay, let us move to the um, particular problem when we try to prove that particular problem which is being referred to the automata like the halting problem. I think I have explained in one class the halting problem means you are supplying a input to automata. It starts, your input string will pass, that is from the starting state, and it terminates or it comes to the goal state. Okay, if it comes to the goal state, the problem is a halting problem. What we try to explain, if it is possible to verify a solution in polynomial time, then it is a halting problem. Okay, halting problem. You start with a start state. You do not know which one is the best solution, or you do not know a exact algorithm to find out a solution to traveling salesman problem, but you try to check whether the given sequence is a tour or not. And if you try to pass through that automata, then with a fixed number of steps, you start with a start state, you are able to parse that string. So that means you are successfully coming into the goal state. So that problem is a halting problem, and don't misinterpret halting problem is that in between you are quitting. Okay, this is equivalent to the problem deciding that a given program and an input, whether the program will eventually halt when the run that input or will run forever. You see, this is clearly explains the halting problem. Will run forever means never come to the goal state. You start with the input, you are verifying a tour in polynomial time. So your program will eventually halt, your program will come to the goal state. I repeat again, halting problem means you starting with the input state with a given given sequence of input for or a set of input or a single input, you will come to the halt state. Okay, so this is the diagrammatic representation for the halting problem. And this halting problem is also an unsolvable problem, because if it is going to ask you that maybe you are starting with a program P, or we are talking of this program, verify the problem in polynomial time, you may have some input so that it will loop, it will not come to the goal state. We need this reference to prove that the problem to be NP complete. Now again we'll continue few slides on this. This is a repetition. We have discussed P is corresponds to a class of problem that can be solved in polynomial time. NP corresponds to a class can be checked in polynomial. That is why I tried to explain. NP, non-deterministic polynomial, is a class of problem where solution can be checked in polynomial time. So this is the open problem in computer science. It is yet to be solved, that whether P equal to NP. So what is the great about that? If you are going to P equal to NP, then the whole security system of the world can be cracked. I'll explain you again, because on the when we try to provide a security system, guessing a password is found to be NP complete. That means if you can generate any password in polynomial time, you are going to crack any security system in the world. So we know that the P is a subset of NP, that I have explained in the last class. Whether NP is also a subset of P, that is not known. So this is the open problem in computer science and the most important problem in computer science. Now you come to NP complete problem. This subsequent, the two slides you look into attentively. The problem P1 is NP complete. A given problem is this also we have discussed. This is reduced to P1 in polynomial time. That means I am transforming a problem to another form of a problem. I am taking the help of a algorithm which terminates in polynomial time by transforming the problem from one to other form. So this means that it is, if you solved P1, then you solved every problem in NP. Okay, so this is the strategy we use to prove the problem to be NP complete. Okay, I'm not discussing NP hard and other problem. Directly I'll go to on the problem of NP completeness. And maybe when we talk about the hard problem, we take the example of halting problem. Given a problem and the input to the program, determine if the program will eventually stop when it's given the input. We are not sure what is the exact input, that for every input it will stop. If you are able to find out for all the inputs the program will stop, then you are solving the uh, a halting problem. Then you know all the solution to the halting problem. Second problem I am not discussing. This is just some of the frictions. What do you want to find dealing with a hard problem? What is a designer's choice? What to do when you find the problem that looks like hard? So what is the answer? Look into the answer what it comes. It could not find a I could not find a polynomial time algorithm. C admits that I guess I have too dumb. That means I'm not able to find out the solution. Maybe I'm not able to work out. Now, then another gentleman comes. Sometimes you can prove strong lower bound. Instead of problem solving a problem, we try to come with a strong lower bound. We'll come to that. What is a lower bound theory? We have a complete chapter on that. But we are going to find out a strong lower bound which tells that, okay, I am not going to find out a problem, but a solution can be found out which will take order of n square. There exists a solution which the lower bound is order of n square. So what it says, what is the answer of this person to the boss? I could not find a polynomial time algorithm because no such algorithm exists. Fine, because you are searching for a algorithm, but you are able to say that there must be algorithm, but it says you look into this state, I could not find a polynomial time algorithm. Might be there because the lower bound is defined. Now then a group of mass or group of experts or a group of designers take his help is taken. Then NP completeness let us now collectively that the problem is hard. So when you'll be finding this NP equal to P, it is not being challenged by a single individual. There is a voting out of 20 and odd people, some majority people vote that NP equal to P. So few people says we have solved the problem. So what is the explanation? I could not find a polynomial time algorithm, but neither could all the smart people able to find out a polynomial time algorithm. Hence this problem is a hard problem. So if the problem is solved to be NP complete, a good evidence of the interactability or the hardness, not waste time is trying to find efficient algorithm. That means a problem is given. If you are able to prove that this problem has no solution or it is NP hard, then you may not try it. Instead of focusing on designing approximation algorithm for a solution for a special case of the algorithm is considered. So it introduces one more term called approximation or approximate algorithm. So we have a section on approximation algorithm. Idea is that when a problem is taken and the problem is NP complete, we are looking into the paradigms through which we can find out the solution. Okay, one thing the term is their lower bound, next is your approximate algorithm. Some problem looks like very easy on the surface, but in fact it is a hard. That means when the n increases, the complexity of the problem increases. A very good example is your spanning tree problem or traveling salesman problem. When we try to look into 3 node, 4 node, it becomes easy. When n increases, as you know, the solution space is exponential, so the complexity of the problem increases. This is the slide. Again and again, we'll repeat how to prove a problem to be NP complete. Given a problem U, the following steps are used to prove to the NP complete. We'll be discussing individual problems and we'll have some, might be some reckoning through the Blackboard business will come to the picture. So the step number adds so that the U is in NP. We try to prove a problem to be NP complete. Please listen, this is must for every students. When we are working on our thesis, we pick up a problem, we use a statement that I am working on a problem which is NP complete. But when the examiner tried to ask you or you asked to prove mostly critical, very critical for PhD students as well as for MTech students during thesis defense. You need to prove the problem to be NP complete. You have to at least write 1 or 2 pages explaining your problem to be NP complete. This is to be answered with 4 steps. Step number 1, so that U is in NP. Select the known NP complete problem, that is B, and construct a reduction. So here actually we are proposing a new algorithm. We are proposing a construct a reduction means we are proposing a new algorithm whose complexity is polynomial, or you can say in a single line, we are writing a polynomial time algorithm. We are writing a polynomial time algorithm which performs the reduction, which actually reduction from V to U. Again, I repeat, you do not have a polynomial time algorithm for your problem. Fine. You try to prove the problem to be NP complete. So you are taking the help of a existing NP complete problem. And with taking the help of existing incomplete problem, you are writing an algorithm. You are writing an algorithm which is bounded by a polynomial time that reduction from V to U takes place. Sometimes some book uses this vice versa, U to V also. Okay, then so that this reduction requires polynomial time. Means if you construct a reduction means you are constructing a algorithm. You are constructing a algorithm. You are writing a new algorithm, and this algorithm is polynomial. So I may not write the step number 4, and I can write that construct a polynomial time reduction algorithm that reduces from V to U. Okay, so this is the uh, approach we'll be using. It's a theorem probing. We'll be using to all the statements that prove that traveling salesperson problem to be NP complete. Today I have shared some of the book chapter or the hints. Don't get very depth into that. Try to look into that. These are the mathematical theorem has to be worked out. Of course, we will be discussing a simplified version. I have uploaded 3 different materials on NP completeness to the Microsoft Team section of your subject. Okay, now the methods to adapt to cope with NP completeness. This is we have already discussed. This is the important slide. You look into that. You now a problem is given NP complete. What a designer has to do. You may go for dynamic programming. You may go for backtracking. Why? Why you will go for backtracking? Why you will go for backtracking? Why you are not going for greedy? A problem is NP complete. It says use dynamic programming, use backtracking, use branch and bound. If these things are there, why should one go for approximation, randomize or heuristic? Okay, now, so if we look into that, a problem is NP complete. We should try a algorithm in conventional 5 different paradigm. Greedy, sorry, divide and conquer, greedy, dynamic, backtracking, and branching. Because first we try to design an exact algorithm where it produces a solution. So can you tell me any example of a optimization problem which is solved using divide and conquer technique? Yes, please. Can anybody name any optimization problem which is solved using divide and conquer technique? Yes. What is a divide and conquer technique? Hello.
So
Am I audible?
merge sort. Merge sort.
Are merge sort is example.
Divide
Yes.
a big problem into a small problem.
Yes. Why? Durgesh, your voice is echoing. Yes, please tell me.
Divide the big problem into small sub problem.
Still, you are answering the wrong thing. You have to use a term dependent or independent.
Divide the problem into
Independent
Independent
subproblem.
sub problem.
independent subproblems.
Answer is independent subproblem.
Problem.
A problem is divided into independent subproblem. That means you can solve the, suppose I want to solve a problem with instance of size n, then I am solving a subproblem. One is of instance of size 5, another is of instance of the size 5, and intersection of this subproblem is 5. So when we talk about intersection of the subproblem, actually intersection of the input or the instance is 5. Okay, so when I try to solve a subproblem, so how can I say this problem will be solved under divide and conquer or not? Because I have to look into the problem whether it is exhibiting such property. Can a problem is divided into number of independent subproblem? If answer is no, I cannot do it. Yes. Now come to the question, is there any NP complete problem or in general a optimization problem which can be solved using divide and conquer? Merge sort is not a optimization problem. Quick sort is not a optimization problem. Binary search is not a optimization problem. So what is the optimization problem? Optimization problem is roughly, if you look into that, just like 0 and knapsack problem, I have an objective function. So something is to be maximized or something is to be minimized. Okay, shortest path, longest distance, minimum tour. So this type of statement should be there. Any problem you know that can be solved under divide and conquer? Any problem that can be solved using divide and conquer? Okay, the suggestion is you
Matrix.
matrix stress and matrix multiplication. What you mean to say, Sital? Stress and matrix multiplication? No, it's not a optimization problem. Okay, because there you are not going
Yes,
to
sir.
maximum.
Yes, sir. Station.
Stress and matrix multiplication is not a optimization problem because we don't have any optimization problem formulation to that problem. Okay. Yes, please. Yes.
Synthetic analysis.
Synthetic.
The synthetic analysis top-down parser. Example, for example, sir.
Top-down parser is a optimization problem. I am saying the problem which can be solved, optimization problem which can be solved under divide and conquer. Okay. Yes, parser we have a optimization. Okay. We have a optimization problem. We have example of how to use genetic algorithm and genetic programming in compiler to optimize. Okay. So I just want to know, you have read many algorithms under divide and conquer. So you should know any of this example is dealing with the optimization problem. Okay. So you didn't remember what? Okay, can you tell me what are the problems you have learned under divide and conquer? Like you start with a merge sort, binary sort, quick sort. What are the other things? Anyone? Other than sorting?
Sir, Kruskal's algorithm.
Finding maximum, minimum.
Selection problem.
Selection problem is a optimization problem, but it cannot have a solution in divide and conquer paradigm. We use a modified quick sort. Merge sort, no sorting algorithm, no searching algorithm comes into that.
Sir, minimum distance between 2 points of given endpoints.
So that is the optimization problem.
No, sir, using divide and conquer.
Yes, can I formulate the problem as a optimization problem? You see, okay.
Spanning.
No. What I try to say, can you represent? Can you do the formulation? Can you do the formulation? As you say, I have n number of points. I am going to divide the n number of points into 2 halves. Then I am finding a shortest distance between, suppose I have 10 points. I am finding the shortest distance between these 5 points. Then I am finding shortest distance between another 5 points. Then I am trying to merge it. So remember it, in any problem which is divided into number of sub problems, either It is automatically merged with the help of the data structure which is going to represent, or we need a algorithm to merge. So the good example is your merge set. You divide them into two sub problems, right? Two independent sub problems. What you did at the end, you merge it, right? Merge set has how many algorithms? Merge set has how many algorithms?
Sir,
If you
merging procedure and
one merge algorithm.
you have a divide and conquer algorithm which divide the problem into independent sub problem, right? And another algorithm at the end it merges. It
yes.
merge. Okay.
merge,
So
yes.
this is the general structure of a divide and conquer algorithm. That is the reason few authors divide and divide or group this divide and conquer algorithm into three paradigm. One is divide and conquer. Another is decrease and conquer. Okay, we will not enter into that. Okay, let us come to the solution. That is, have you heard of the convex Hall?
No,
Convex
sir.
Hall. Convex
No,
Hall.
sir. No, sir.
Convex Hall is a problem. Okay, convex Hall is a problem. This is sometimes modified version used for robots path planning. It is used in industrial design to track the multiple robots. So sometimes it is called art gallery problem. This is the problem which has a solution in all the five paradigm. Convex Hall is a optimization problem, and accidentally we have a optimal algorithm under divide and conquer. We find out the solution. So the problem is like this: you have a number of points on a Cartesian coordinate. Okay, you try to find out a boundary. Okay, and you want to find out of n points, few points will be on the boundary. So who are those endpoints that is represents on the boundary? Are you getting me? You have 100 points, and out of which, okay, you put the 100 nails on a board. Then you have taken a thread and you want to cover that area. Then definitely your thread is touching how many nails? You hammer 100 nails. You hammer 100 nails. So you want to put a rope around that or a thread around that. How many nails you are touching? Let us say, let us say one of the best solution is I put 3 nails in a triangular shape, then accidentally I nail every other rest of the nails into within that. So if I am putting a thread, so I am finding only 3 points and I am constructed a area or a hole which is going to cover all the points. Okay, so these 3, 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, that is to be minimized. Okay, that why I say that PowerPoint I'll share with you. Have a look into that. We cannot discuss that. So there are the problems which can be also solved using divide and conquer paradigm. Simply remember this much: there are optimization problems which can be also solved using divide and conquer paradigm, provided the problem exhibits such property. Now, these all paradigms, conventional paradigms like dynamic programming, backtracking, and branch and bound are also used to find out the solution to the optimization problem. So what it says, suppose the problem is NP complete, you are looking into a small instance. Suppose you are trying to solve a 0-1 knapsack problem with three items. So can you have a solution? Can you design a solution under dynamic programming? Answer is yes. Can you design a solution in backtracking? Answer is yes. Branch and bound? Answer is yes. This technique to reduce the computational cost, because sometimes a problem with small instances you can find a algorithm. The problem with large instances you cannot find a algorithm. That's why when you are reading a problem statement, you always say this word: I have developed an algorithm which solves some special cases. That is, I am not going to solve this problem, or my algorithm is not going to produce a solution for all the situations or all the instances. That means if I have to say, if I'll supply any 2-digit number, my program will work. If I'll supply 3-digit number, my program may not work. That means we are going to find out solution to a subset of the instance, subset of the instances, not all possible instances. Remember, this word will come when we will redefine the NP completeness. It says all possible instances. No, we can find out polynomial time algorithm for some instances, but that does not mean that the problem is solvable. You are going to design a polynomial time algorithm. All these paradigms will help you to decide a polynomial time algorithm, but that is for a small instance, that is for a small problem size, or that is for a few examples. You will be finding a polynomial time algorithm. So now find the subproblem of the original problem. Find the subproblem of the original problem that have polynomial time solution. That means you are taking a traveling salesman problem original, maybe with n equal to 500 cities. Then you have a sub problem. You try to find out the tour for 5 cities. You have a polynomial time algorithm. Now, what we try to do, one of the approach is that suppose there is a problem given to you with n number of cities. You try to design a polynomial time algorithm, but you could not. Then you are looking into approximation. I told you, you are trying to find out a tour for 500 cities. Then you did certain approximation. You develop a polynomial algorithm by neglecting 5 cities. That means for 495 you develop a polynomial algorithm. So this is the idea of the approximation algorithm. The approximation algorithm to find out a approximate solution. Why approximate solution? You are trying to find out the optimal tour for 500 cities, but it is exponential in nature. Then you find that if I'll be ignoring 5 points, I can have a polynomial time algorithm. So there is a approximate solution, and the most critical term which will be referred when we discuss approximations algorithms, that is called approximation ratio. And again, the Indian authors are contributing a lot to approximation algorithm. Bijay Bharjiani is the author which has a complete book on approximation algorithm. Then comes randomized algorithm. This is another way to deal with NP complete problems. Please remember, when someone is asked how you are going to find out solution to the NP complete problem, what are the different way? The first answer that we can develop a exact algorithm which going to find out the solution for some instances, that is by using any of this conventional paradigm, or else we'll go for approximation algorithm, randomized algorithm, and we may use a heuristic. Simplest heuristic is the greedy, or we'll go for some nature inspired solution, that is simulated annealing, genetic algorithm. The list is very long. Okay, so this is the way one can cope with the NP complete problem, or one can find out the solution to the NP complete problem. And this I am not going to discuss problem and the language which I will be discussing, which is related to the automata. This requires that you should remember what is a language, what is a grammar, what is the input alphabet, I mean terminal symbols, non-terminal symbols, production rules. This is related. Okay, so a algorithm may accept a string X, and if A outputs yes on the input sin, that means you are verifying, you have designed an automata. I am supplying you 1101. You start with the start state, you are coming to the goal state. So answer is yes. Okay, so the letter L used to denote the decision problem. You know, the letter L is going to denote the language, and language is nothing but the language is going to recognize a set of words. This set of words are nothing but, if I try to synthesize a language, this has got a, let us say, permutation of 0 and 1, and let us say the string is of length L. So I can have a string with 4 zeros, I can have a string with 4 ones, or permutation combination of that may be represented in the language. If I able to design an automata, or I mean finite automata, any of the string which I am taking belongs to the language L. For input alphabet 0, 1, I can verify all the strings are in polynomial time. So indirectly that is written as a L is used to denote a decision problem. That means your machine which you have designed, the set part of inputs what you are supplying, you are going to say they are acceptable. Your machine is halting. Your machine is halting. You are starting with a start state, reach at the goal state. So that an algorithm A accepts a language L if L outputs yes. L outputs yes means you are verifying that string. You start with the start state, coming to the goal state. Then it you are not within a, I mean entering into a loop in between. Then we can say otherwise we can say L lands into output no. So this is the way we try to relate to the complexity class P. So what we defined the P in beginning, it's a polynomial time. Now we are letting to the machine and the language. The complexity class P is the all set of decision problems. All set of decision problem means there belongs to a language. Belongs to a language means, let us say I ask you to design a 4-bit string which starts with 1 and ends with 1. So you designed the automata, you designed the grammar for me. That's all. That is a language. So that can accept in the worst case polynomial type. Worst case polynomial time, this is the adjective. Maybe in 3 steps, maybe in 4 steps, maybe in 5 steps. The system machine halts. The machine halts. Okay. So that means when we try to design a problem which accepts all the input and comes to the goal state, and then we have a set exist which is a complement to that. As I say, the string starts with 1, ends with 1. Suppose you supply a string with 0, 3, 0 and 1, then you are not going to come the goal state. If all such strings for which you are not able to come to the start state, you start from the start state, not able to come to the goal state, is going to represent the complement of the language. So what is the use of that? This is used to define the complexity of the class P. So again we are defining class of problem P given input set X. We can construct a complement algorithm B, that your algorithm A is going to accept language L, and the another algorithm is there which is going to accept the L complement, that is which are not solution, it is accepted. Okay, so this is the way the solution non-solutions are verified. Why non-solution becomes critical? If you will add the non-solutions for verification, if a system enters into the loop, then how to take care of that? So that means you are also designing another machine which takes the input which is not accepted to us. Okay, so this is the example of class of problems, and we say it is n to the power c, or we sometimes talk about easy problems, and the examples are like this: binary sorting techniques, matrix multiplication. You see, suttest path problem, because here we have a dynamic programming algorithm with polynomial bound. Minimum spanning tree, we have a greedy algorithm with polynomial bound. But interestingly, the suttest path problem and minimum spanning tree problem are not solvable problem. For instances, we have polynomial time algorithm. Okay, so we'll stop with the discussion of this complexity things. With this, we'll be moving to some of the portions of this particular Sahani book, where we'll be discussing the basics of dynamic programming and others. And for non-deterministic algorithms, we'll be referring to the beginning. The initial part is the chapter 11 of this Sahani's book, which starts with the distinction between deterministic and non-deterministic algorithm. Okay, but today what we'll try to do will be switch over to, as I say, we'll start our discussion with dynamic programming. I feel it is required to send you a message that how you are going to do with that, how we are approaching to the dynamic programming, because the dynamic programming is going to provide you a optimal solution to always finds a optimal solution to any problem. So I'll take few minutes to share. Yeah, we'll start a discussion on dynamic programming. Hope to complete in one class. Of course, maybe this is a few minutes are left. Look into the dynamic programming. This is the history. It started with the Bellman as the pioneer of the study. Uh, why the word dynamic is being used, and the dynamic, the term in general, this is the algorithm design technique, and so this is the programming, the term is used to means it is a planning. So a little bit to talk about history. Okay, so this is dynamic programming. First things, it applies to the optimization problem. So that means your problem statement must be represented as a optimization problem. Okay, so now here the sub problems are dependent sub problem. Here the sub problems are dependent sub problem. If you are looking into a problem trying to design a dynamic programming algorithm, you must have a representation that is a sub problem. So let us come to the dependency of the sub problem directly. Look into that. I have to compute the nth Fibonacci number. This depends on the fifth Fibonacci number and the fourth Fibonacci number. Again, the fifth Fibonacci number depends on computation of the fourth Fibonacci number and third Fibonacci number. The fourth similarly depends on third Fibonacci number and the second Fibonacci number. This is the dependency. Okay, if you look into that, when we try to compute the nth Fibonacci number, and I am creating a function like that. So I'm creating a function like that. You will be finding some repetitions are there. You see F3 is being called once, twice and thrice. This is the identical subproblem, but 3 times it is being appeared. That means if a typical recursive algorithm a user writes, or we are being encouraged to write down a recursive routine, you know the recursion is the most dangerous and worst case algorithms are designed with a recursion because you are calling this function 3 times. So what is the idea? We call once and store it. And whenever if suppose this comes first, so I'll compute the F3 and store it at a particular location. Then I can use whenever there is again requirement of F3, instead of executing the function, I can take the value from that location, similar to this case. So if you look into the, and whenever we start the Fibonacci number or writing the algorithm, we assume that this formula we have learned. This is the wrong thing. In process of designing a new dynamic programming algorithm, you are responsible for designing this function. This recursive function is the key. If somebody says I have designed a new dynamic programming algorithm, actually he is designing this. He's designing this. Okay, so now if you look into this, we'll start with this typically to compute the sixth Fibonacci number. What it happens, there are number of dependent subproblem. So 6 depends on subproblem 5 and 4. 5 depends on subproblem 4 and 3. So what we try to find, there are 3 is repeated 3 times, 2 is repeated many times, 1, 2, 3. 4, 5 times 2 is repeated. So what we try to do, we'll compute once, store the value to the memory or to the location and then use it. How the computation takes place, it will take care, it will be like this. So definitely number of function calls are getting reduced. Okay, number of function calls are getting reduced. That means I compute f of 1, I compute f of 0, store them into an array, then I compute f of 2. When I compute f of 2, I take the value from location number 1 and location number 0. Maybe like this, you are representing in an array to do that. Similarly, when you are computing f5, you take the value of the location number 3 and f of 4. So this is the dependency. This is the beauty of the dynamic programming. It depends, it divided the problem or it to number of a dependent subproblem, and the solution is to be computed once only and stored in an appropriate data structure in an array or in a matrix which is being referred. Okay, so uh, how many such yes, we'll come to discussion. How many such algorithms you can write for dynamic programming, I mean for the Fibonacci number? Hello, how many algorithms you can write for a Fibonacci number to compute nth Fibonacci number? Three different algorithm. Very good. What are those three?
Sir, the recursive one which gives 2 to the power n, the dynamic programming one which does top down, and a recursive version which uses memoization.
Which uses?
Memoization. I mean, it stores the previous values like dynamic programming, but it's using recursion.
Very good, very good. It's a so that is also a dynamic programming. So now this idea, what he told, I think maybe I have doubt if everybody has understood. It's fine. Just in Fibonacci number, a typical algorithm which we are taught and we feel we are writing a good algorithm, that is the simple recursion call. F of n, you call the another function fn minus 1 into fn minus 2. But that is a very bad algorithm because you have to do lot of housekeeping for the recursion. Okay. Next is the dynamic programming algorithm, where we store the value into the array. I store f of 0, I store f of 1, and then I use them to find out the solution. Then instead of reserving a array, because I am computing nth Fibonacci number, instead of storing them into array of size n, I try to use only two variables to do that. So this idea, if you'll extend to the throughout the algorithms of dynamic programming, you can have always two algorithm. You can have always a two algorithm. Just let me, because we are haven't your next class is there. Just I am showing you. You see, this formula is not our designer contribution. I want to compute nth, I mean binomial coefficient. Its formulation is known to us, so we take copy. Here there is no designer role. We are not designing a solution to the problem. So typically when we are going to apply dynamic programming, the solution to the subproblem which is to be computed are to be stored. And look into we are dealing with two variables. So most of the problems we use a matrix to store it, right? But if you look into this algorithm, we have an initialization, that is k equal to 0, k equal to n. You see, it's n and k. Now look into this representation. You will be finding different type of representation. This representation is very critical. This is something, if I ask how much extra memory space is required to compute the binomial coefficient in NCK. Here it represents in a matrix, but you see here k starts from 1 to k, but padded with one extra location, and this starts with 1 to n, but one more 0. So we are adding one extra row, extra column. Why? If you look into the problem statement or the recursive formula, this demands initialization. So roughly, I'll just quickly go through these 4 or 5 examples which is there. And now you come to the problem, that is make change problem or denomination problem. You see how it looks like. Here I have 3 denomination. I didn't add a denomination 0 because it's not suitable for my problem, but I have the amount, so I am using initializing 0. This is because the recursive formulation which is there, that demands. The recursive formulation itself demand. You look into this formulation demands that whether one extra row will be there, whether an extra column will be there. But in general, we need certain amount of memory. Now look into this, note that this complexity of this computing NCK is order of NK. That if I am using a typical dynamic programming, this will be complete with space complexity order of K by maintaining 2 rows. So what it says, dynamic programming complexity will be order of N, but here the space complexity is also order of nk because it is stored in a matrix. Then it says, if you borrow the idea from Fibonacci number, that I can manage with 2 variable. So if you look into this formula, when I am computing I and j, I am only using the previous row previous two rows. Okay, when I'm using that one, then when I'm computing this last row, I'm using this one. So I no need of using this one. So I can manage with last two rows. Got it? Last two rows. So with this idea, if you will be asked to write down the algorithm, you see this explains now why it is not writing algorithm. Writing algorithm is very easy. This is the key formula which is to be included, sometimes with two loops, sometimes with three loops. Now, the most critical one is the value of the solution. If we look into this problem, this is a typical dynamic programming problem where you have a value of the solution. There is no choice between like I am finding a cost of the shortest path, then path. So, but they are solved in dynamic programming. Here also making change problem, objective is to minimize the denomination. Here the catch comes. That means I want to go for, I have three denomination, the total amount of make change the amount k equal to 8. So this particular field answers that you can have denomination, two different denominations or two coins, so that you can have 8 rupees. Okay, so if you look into this table structure, sometime optimization solution appears here, sometime optimization solution appears here. Okay, any of these two positions will occupy. Now if you'll come to the 0-1 knapsack problem, you see in 0-1 knapsack problem, we say my profit is maximum, so it is appears here. But are you satisfied with this? Answer is no. Why? Because when I am asking which item I have to take, this is silent. It says the value of the optimal solution, but no, I don't have any information which item I have to take. Right? Look into this algorithm. Algorithm is very simple. The key is the recursive formula which is to be included. But if I run this program, this particular Vij, which is maintained by this matrix, and this will give me the value of the optimal solution. But it will not give me any information which item is to be selected so that the profit will be 40. Okay, so this is, we'll continue the discussion again, dynamic programming. As you say, we have to discuss because otherwise the concept will not be clear. Now this is the key. You read this slide. I'll be uploading this slide just now after the class. So first step is to characterize the structure of optimal solution. Second, recursively define the value of the optimal solution. This is important because anybody who is designing a new dynamic programming algorithm, actually he is contributing for this step number 2. He is contributing to step number 2, and this he compute the value of optimal solution. Then here's one thing, compute the value of optimal solution. Okay, now compute an optimal solution. Why it says unoptimal solution? There may be more than one optimal solution. So it's a 4-step process. Maybe you are coming into one algorithm up to step number 3, then you are writing one more algorithm for step number 4. But some of the problems we have in a single algorithm does everything for us. Okay. So those who have class, I think software architecture you can leave, or else I'm ready to take the question. Those who asks anything. And please, those people are having software architecture class can leave. Yes.
Sir, you in NP problems, the problem we are facing is that the time complexity is too large for
Right.
modern
For
day computer.
No,
So-
not modern computer, not modern computer. Modern computer is not the answer, because there are some earlier, suppose you are solving a problem of size 10. It takes 10 seconds. Now, if you are going to find out the solution, it may take 1 second. So modern computer reference it is not to be added to the algorithm. Okay. You are finding a solution to the problem of size n in 10 minutes in a old architecture. Now maybe you are using a new architecture, you are finding in 1 minute. But the 10 is the key. You are solving a problem up to certain size. Okay.
Okay, sir. But sir, say, sir, 10 years back, a very large sized input would have taken a huge amount of time.
Right.
That same input takes very less time these days. So does that not mean that the NP problem
No, no, no,
can?
no. No, no. You see, here we are not considering the machine architecture. We consider only size of the instance, right? Because it's a theoretical analysis.
मम्मी से पूछा है
So with the help of the theoretical machine. So we try to express the complexity in terms of n. Okay. So nothing to do with the modern computer.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So this is not with the speed. That's we are measuring. This we are measuring as a function of a instance. Whether I want to work with a 16-bit or 32-bit, 64-bit is not meaningful to us. Yes, one thing you can say, earlier we are solving a small problem because we have a polynomial time algorithm for, let us say, the 10 city problem that was taking 5 minutes. Now with 100 city problem, I am taking it 5 minutes, but I cannot solve all traveling salesman problem. Here actually we are trying to find out a solution to a subset. That means out of all instances, you are supplying a small instances for which it is solvable. That does not mean that it solves for all instance. Instance, what do you remember? Okay. And I'm again going to give you the example in SCM ICPC programming contest. The question they used to ask, people are thinking and they used to supply the test data. People sometimes thinks, okay, I have written a program, I have tested with the test data, I have solved the problem. But when they try to test your algorithm, they supply another set of input for which your algorithm fails. Okay, what you conclude from that, Shreyan? Are you getting me or should I repeat? Yes.
Yes, sir, I'm getting it. That means there
No.
are other cases for which it may fail.
That means instead of writing a general solution, I have written an algorithm which is going to take care of a specific case, because in my question they have mentioned the input, they have mentioned the output. So instead of writing a general algorithm, you are writing an algorithm to take care of this input. But when they are testing your program, they test with another instance. So your program fails. Okay. So this is the strategy they use in SCM ICPC programming contest. Yes, please, anybody? Okay, if you do not have any question,